Mike's Daily Podcast.
FF episode 2064-2064. I'm your host, Mike Matthews. The show, I think, is called
Mike's Daily Podcast.
Or those will probably be the lyrics to the song in the chorus part. It's Mike broadcasting from Cafe Anyway. And it's tight because I got myself, I think, a little more than 4 hours sleep. I feel so rested. And I could just scream. That's all I got with the rhyming today, folks.
Mike's Daily Podcast.
We got this daily podcast today. We're going to cover some stuff. Like, for example, this whole
Mike's
quarter flash
Daily
business.
Podcast.
What?
Yeah!
Am I referencing something 40 years old or so? Yes, back in 19... Wow. It's been... Yes. It's been about 40 years. Wow. Quarter Flash came out with a song, I'm Gonna Hard My Heart, in like 1982, I think it was a hit. So I got all curious about that song because that woman had a great voice. Her name was Rindy Ross. I think that's short for Orinda. And she was married to a guy, I think, is it Mark Ross? Something like that. But they have been married since like the 80s, this incredibly long time. They were in the band together. A lot of similarities between her and Pat Benatar. Pat Benatar and her husband, I think it's Neil. He and her have been together forever. And he wrote the majority of the songs for Pat, Neil did, and Mark wrote the majority of the songs for Rindy. And they had a great... So if you look up Quarter Flash, there's quite a few old concerts that they did. And their band was good. Oh my gosh, for the 80s and mullets everywhere, it was hilarious. And she had a great voice. And she sang the heck out of her songs, and she sounded like...
And here's today's podcast picture.
She sounded tight. She sounded good. So my podcast picture is not of Quarter Flash, but just to remind you, there was a band in the 80s called Quarter Flash, and everybody goes, oh, they were a one-hit wonder. Well, technically, no. They also had a song called, what was that one? Take Me to Heart and Don't Deny the Miracle. That was a charting song. But very good. Gosh, so... What happened? This is what always fascinates me, is these bands that had talent, that had success, and then the success is short-lived. That's right, Basil can tell you all about it. There today, gone tomorrow, exactly. That's right, Basil, it's true. Preach on. So that's what happened with Quarter Flash. They had this huge song. Not any really huge follow-up singles from that album. Then they did a bunch of soundtracks. They were on Fast Times at Ridgemont High. They were on this movie, The Night Shift, with Henry Winkler and Michael Keaton. Before he was Batman, before he was Johnny Dangerously. Or was that right after Johnny Dangerously? Somewhere before. I forget. Anywho, Mike's Daily Podcast is what you're listening to. Oh, then they put out... Quarter Flash puts out this, basically the sophomore album, even though they had been known as a band called Sea Mama back in Portland. Oh yeah, and if you're from Portland, you know this already. This is part of you grew up, this is History 101 you learn in Portland. Yeah, because they're a huge Portland export. So they did the song, they did a couple of songs. Oh, so the second album was pretty good for them. Not as big. And then they did a third album that was a lot more sequenced. They said sequenced because they basically sequenced all the instrumentation to kind of give it this very new wavy feel. And there's a song, you can see the video to it on YouTube. I think it's called Walking on Ice. And the whole thing, throughout it, there is early computer-generated graphics. So basically, early CGI in this video. amusing to watch. The song is pretty cool if you like a new wavy type sound. If you wanted to hear Quarter Flash go full on new wave, that's what it sounds like. And then after that, I think they did another album and it never got released, only in Europe. And then they pretty much wrapped it up, although they still occasionally come together as Quarter Flash, not all the original members of the band. But the core of it is that husband and wife, just like the core of Pat Benatar's group. Well, Pat Benatar, it's always her and her husband that show up at places and do acoustic things, and you can find that stuff on YouTube as well. So that's what I was fascinated by, was that. Oh, and that husband and wife of Randy Ross and Mark. Pretty sure it's Mark. They did a tribute to the early settlers of Portland and the songs that they used to sing along when they were all coming out from the East Coast. They did this historical album where they played this old-timey country music sound too. So there's all this interesting thing. I bring all that up for no particular reason other than that's my podcast and I can do it if I want to. But Jay Sekulow, who is a very staunch conservative, and he was representing President Trump during the whole impeachment trial, he actually, it was amazing to hear him just be so like, yeah, we need to review what the police do. Yeah, he was basically saying what happened in Atlanta should never have happened, and that it escalated. Basically, what I was talking about on the podcast a few podcasts ago, that we escalate too much when we bring the police in, and that's got to stop. But he's actually from Atlanta. I never knew that. So, what? Record cases in Brazil. Brazil reports big surge in coronavirus infections. Yikes. There is something after 35,000 new cases, almost 1,300 deaths. And as we go outside a cafe anyway, we're bringing Mike's Daily Podcast somewhere in Podcastro Valley, Mont today. There's coronavirus cases going up everywhere that we've reopened, pretty much. Here in California, definitely like in Florida. In Arizona, my lovely lady friend was talking to someone who had been to Arizona recently, where hotspots have popped up of coronavirus. And apparently, this couple went out to dinner in Arizona somewhere, and at the restaurant, none of the servers wore masks. So it's, hello. What the heck is going on? And people, I understand that the media wants to scare you into submission so that you watch their channel constantly, and that you never forget that is exactly what they want. All the news channels, they want to scare you, just like the newspapers way back when. If it bleeds, it leads. And that's, the newspapers, black and white and red all over. Not red. It's red all over. That took me a long time to figure out as a kid. Just to tell you the kind of developments that I could not do as a child. I was not developing. I'm probably still not developed completely. And that's something I have to deal with. You don't have to worry about it. Just go on your own way. And yeah. At any rate, I understand there's got to be people, you got to, the news, we all have to understand that the news is there to shock you, to scare you, to make you go, ah! But at the same time, there's a little bit of common sense involved. And this goes back to just everything in the world today, basically. Common sense with what's happening. Societal stuff, and with our diseases that we have to fight. We have to use common sense and wash our hands. And at this point, we have to cover our faces and be extra safe. Should we have always covered our faces? I don't know. I think that there's probably a big market now for face masks. I'm already hearing them on the radio, different face mask commercials. And it's going to be a part of our fashion. You put on nice shoes, you put on a nice face mask, I guess. But we all wore masks anyway in our lives. Do we really show the real us? Okay, I got a little deep there on the show, sorry. Hey, one thing I've noticed that you may have noticed too at your work, possibly, it's becoming a popular thing, is you get people involved in the company in order to bring the health insurance down. You get them involved with this health plan type thing where they've got to go and put on a Fitbit or something, which means, actually, if the company wants you to participate in something like this, they should buy you a Fitbit. They should be like, because the places I know about, they basically tell the employees, no, you have to go buy a Fitbit in order to really make this work. In order to actually get all the steps counted that you actually make every day. So they do a challenge through this promoting health in your business type website. They do a challenge to the people that are involved, and usually I participate in the challenges because you get a bunch of points, and then the points go towards keeping your health plan, your health care deductions low, and then also pay per paycheck. Also, they help you get things. There's like points that you can use for Amazon cards and whatnot, all that stuff. I suddenly find that I'm on a team. I signed up for a challenge, and now I'm on a team with coworkers. And I got this one coworker who texted me in the middle of the day yesterday when I'm trying to take a nap, because I get up at 4, as I tell you, and says, you need to work out more. Just out of the blue. You need to work out more. And you know what? I said, I'm out of this challenge. I emailed the company that does this. I still have not heard from them, however, but I'm out. I'm done. I'm not done with the whole the health website thing. I got to still participate in that, but not this stupid challenge telling me I got to work out. And if you met this guy, well, anyway, I'll leave it there. Well, it's an interesting world, isn't it? And we know that because we're outside a cafe anyway, and there's some interesting people. Let's say hi to them. Hello, Michael Masters, Madame Rootabega, and how are you today? Oh, you know, tired. Yes. And you're tired too? Yes. You don't say yes the way you usually do. Are you going to keep saying it like this? Yes. Okay. And then you usually say some other word. No. Yeah. And that's how we talk with Madame Rootabega. That's our extremely detailed dialogue that we do. Look who else is here.
Hello there, Mike. This is Valentino, the parking attendant.
And this is Bison Bentley. Do you know that?
Whoa.
It's good to have you guys all here today. None of you pressuring me to work out. That's good. I just, I need more sleep first before I can work out. And sleep is such a valuable part. That it's part of your life. And it's intrinsic. You need to do it. So, otherwise you can't think of the right words to say on your dang podcast because your brain is so tired. So, go and do that. Get some rest tonight. Go to bed early, please. And do that for me, and that'll make this a better world, I think. We all just need to sleep a little bit more. Okay, I didn't get to some things. We'll get to the next podcast. We'll get to those things that I didn't talk about with that. The different stuff things. And then we'll also talk to Chely Shoehart, Floyd the Floorman, and John Deere the engineer. Enjoy the podcast picture today. It's another one from my fabulous hike that I did on Saturday that was so wonderful. See it at MikesDailyPodcast.com.
Mike's Daily Podcast is written and produced and performed by Mike Matthews. His podcast is super easy to find. Download or listen to his show and read his blog at MikesDailyPodcast.com. Email Mike now at MikesDailyPodcast@gmail.com. See you tomorrow. Bye!